When loyalty turns into betrayal, what would you do if the person you trusted most turned out to be the one pulling the strings behind your downfall? Ethan Cross had always believed loyalty was the one currency that never lost its value. In the cutthroat world of corporate power, allies were scarce, enemies were everywhere. But loyalty, if you found it, was priceless. For over a decade, his right-hand man, Daniel Reeves, had been that embodiment of loyalty. Daniel was more than just a colleague. He was a brother-in-arms, the man who stayed late with him when deadlines loomed, who stood by his side when competitors tried to crush them, who whispered strategies in boardroom battles. Together, they had built Titan Global into an empire. Ethan was the visionary, Daniel the executor. If Ethan drew the map, Daniel carved the path. Ethan had once said half-jokingly at a gala, "If I were to die tomorrow, I'd trust Daniel to run this company better than I could." Everyone had laughed. Ethan meant every word. But loyalty has a strange way of morphing when ambition takes root. It began with whispers. Numbers on quarterly reports didn't add up. A missing contract Ethan swore he'd signed. Clients mysteriously backing out of long-term deals. At first, Ethan thought it was external sabotage, a rival corporation trying to weaken Titan from the inside. But the cracks widened too quickly, too precisely. It was as if someone knew exactly where to hit. One night, long after midnight, Ethan sat in his glass-walled office overlooking the city. He was exhausted, the kind of exhaustion that doesn't come from lack of sleep but from too much doubt. The city lights blurred as he replayed every oddity of the last 6 months. That was when his phone buzzed with an anonymous message. "He's not who you think he is." Attached was a single file. Ethan hesitated before opening it. What he saw hollowed him out. Documents, email chains, bank transfers, every thread lead back to Daniel. Deals rerouted to a shell company. Confidential data leaked to their fiercest rival. Every single dagger in Ethan's back had Daniel's fingerprints on it. Ethan wanted to dismiss it. Daniel, impossible. This was the man who once missed his own wedding rehearsal because Ethan needed him in Tokyo for an emergency negotiation. This was the man who toasted Ethan's victories louder than anyone else. Betrayal. No, not Daniel. But loyalty doesn't erase evidence. Ethan confronted him the next morning. In the boardroom, the air between them felt heavier than the oak table. "Daniel," Ethan said, sliding the file across. "Tell me this isn't true." Daniel stared at the papers, then he laughed. Not nervously, not guiltily. It was the calm, deliberate laugh of a man who had already chosen his side. "You always said I was your shadow," Daniel replied. "But shadows don't follow forever. They wait, and one day, they step into the light." Ethan's chest tightened. Why? After everything, why? Daniel's eyes glinted with something Ethan had never seen before, resentment, polished into resolve. "Do you know what it's like to build someone else's empire? To always be second, invisible, while the world worships you as the genius. I gave you my loyalty, but loyalty is just a leash you put around my neck. You mistook obedience for friendship." Ethan felt the room spin. The betrayal wasn't in the act itself, but in the revelation that Daniel had never seen their bond the same way. To Daniel, loyalty had always been currency spent until it ran dry. The fallout was swift and merciless. Within weeks, Daniel maneuvered the board into voting Ethan out. The empire Ethan built crumbled in his hands while Daniel stood where he once stood. The world applauding a new king. Ethan vanished from the spotlight, retreating into silence. Everyone assumed he was finished, a fallen titan swallowed by his own misplaced trust. Months passed. Then, almost like a ghost, Ethan resurfaced quietly, deliberately. He started small, in the shadows, building alliances Daniel wouldn't see coming. A year later, at Titan's annual shareholders meeting, Daniel stood on stage, smug in his dominance. The lights dimmed for his keynote presentation, but instead of his speech, the giant screen flickered and filled with files, proof of embezzlement, insider trading, collusion. Gasps filled the auditorium as Daniel's empire collapsed in real time. And then, from the back of the room, Ethan walked in. Not with fury, not with triumph, just calm inevitability. His voice cut through the chaos. "You taught me one thing, Daniel. Shadows don't just wait, they watch. And when the light blinds you, they strike." Security dragged Daniel off stage. Cameras captured every second. By morning, Daniel's name was synonymous with betrayal, fraud, ruin. Ethan didn't reclaim Titan. He didn't need to. He had already built something else, something stronger. Loyalty, he realized, wasn't priceless, it was fragile, conditional, corruptible. The only real currency was foresight. But as he left the auditorium, reporters swarming, questions flying, Ethan's thoughts weren't on Daniel. They were on the message he had received a year ago, the anonymous tip that had exposed Daniel in the first place. Ethan had never discovered who sent it, and for the first time, a chill ran down his spine. If someone could orchestrate Daniel's fall, were they also orchestrating his IS? So here's the question. In a world where loyalty can twist into betrayal so easily, who can you really trust?